Commander Red stood at the observation deck of the Dreadweaver, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the polished floor. His four eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the holographic display of Earth floating before him. After 6 months of careful observation, he was finally ready to make his move against this troublesome planet. "Display the warfare analysis again," he ordered, his voice deep and gravelly. The ship's AI responded immediately, projecting a new set of images. They showed various scenes from Earth's military bases, but one particular detail kept appearing: a four-legged creature present at nearly every significant installation. "Fascinating," muttered Science Officer Green from behind him. "These humans keep their war beasts right in their living spaces. Such savagery." Commander Red nodded in agreement. His species had spent generations engineering the perfect war beasts, yet these humans seemed to have tamed natural predators and integrated them seamlessly into their military structure. It was both primitive and eerily advanced. The latest footage showed what they assumed to be a training session, a smaller version of the creature attacking a padded human with incredible ferocity, while other humans watched and made notes. The fact that they used smaller specimens for training showed their tactical brilliance. Their bond with these beasts must be the source of their confidence, Red concluded, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. No wonder they rejected our initial peaceful contact attempts. They believe these creatures make them invincible. The memory of Earth's dismissal of their first diplomatic message still stung. The humans had laughed, actually laughed, when the Dreadweaver revealed itself. Such disrespect could not go unpunished. "Sir," called out Navigator Blue from his station, "I've compiled the data on their beast-keeping facilities. They call them pounds and kennels. They're everywhere, suggesting a massive war beast breeding program." Red's upper eyes widened while his lower ones narrowed, a sign of deep concern among his people. The humans were clearly more organized than they had initially assumed. These facilities must be how they maintain their army of biological weapons. "Look at this one," Blue continued, projecting a new image. It showed a small human female handling one of the beasts. They start training their young to control these creatures from an early age. The integration into their society is complete. Red walked closer to the hologram, studying the interaction. The beast's mouth was open, displaying its teeth, while the human showed no fear. Such mastery over deadly creatures. No wonder Earth had never been successfully invaded by any other species. "We need to adjust our strategy," Red announced to his command staff. "These humans don't fear our technology because they believe their war beasts give them the advantage. We must show them that we understand their true strength and that we can match it." He turned to face his crew, all of whom stood at attention. "Prepare the broadcast system. It's time to show these humans that we know their secret, and ready our own war beasts. Let them see what real biological weapons look like." As his crew hurried to comply with his orders, Red returned to studying the footage. A new clip showed one of the creatures leaping into water to retrieve an object, demonstrating their amphibious capabilities. These beasts were clearly more versatile than anyone had suspected. "Computer," he called out, "enhance the audio from training facility recording number 47. The sound filled the room. "Who's a good boy?" "You are." "Yes, you are." Some kind of activation phrase, Red murmured to himself. Their command structures are more complex than we imagined. Within hours, the broadcast would be ready. Red would show the humans that their greatest weapon had been discovered. He would demonstrate that their secret advantage was no match for the truly engineered war beasts of the Dreadweaver. Little did Commander Red know, he was about to make first contact history, just not in the way he expected. As he prepared his ultimatum speech, somewhere on Earth, a golden retriever puppy chased its tail, completely unaware it had been classified as humanity's deadliest weapon. The United Nations General Assembly Hall was packed with delegates from every nation. The giant screens that normally showed speaker information now displayed a dark, starry background. Everyone had been summoned for humanity's first official alien contact, though no one knew exactly what to expect. Suddenly, The screens flickered, and Commander Red's face appeared. His four eyes blinked in sequence as he surveyed the crowd through the camera feed. The room fell silent. "People of Earth," his translated voice boomed through the speakers. "We have studied your civilization thoroughly. Your pitiful attempt to hide your greatest weapon has failed." The delegates looked at each other in confusion. "What weapon?" "We have observed your military installations," Red continued, "and discovered the source of your power, your war beasts." The screens changed to show various images. A police officer playing fetch with his canine partner during a break. A military dog getting belly rubs after a training session. A puppy at an army base licking the soldier's face. Someone in the back of the hall couldn't hold back a snort of laughter. Others quickly followed, trying to hide their smiles behind their hands. Commander Red's upper eyes narrowed. "You dare laugh? Then watch this." The screen split to show one of their own war beasts, a massive genetically engineered creature with multiple rows of teeth and armored scales. "Our war beasts will show you true power." At that exact moment, the camera feed from Earth focused on a golden retriever puppy that had wandered into view at a military base. It was wearing a tiny training vest that was slightly too big for it, chasing its own tail and falling over. "Behold your mighty weapon in training," Red declared triumphantly, as the puppy rolled onto its back, paws in the air, asking for belly rubs. The entire UN assembly lost their composure. Even the normally stoic Secretary General was shaking with suppressed laughter. Lieutenant Tom Wilson, who had been chosen as Earth's military representative due to his experience as a K-9 handler, stepped up to the podium. He cleared his throat several times before managing to speak without chuckling. "Commander Red," he said carefully, "I believe there's been a misunderstanding. These aren't war beasts. They're dogs, our companions and friends." "Companions." Red's tone dripped with disbelief. "You expect us to believe you keep predators as friends?" "Well, yes," Tom replied. "We've lived alongside dogs for thousands of years. They help us in many ways, but mostly they're our pets. They're part of our families." The alien commander stared in silence as the screen showed more footage. A dog helping a blind person cross the street. A therapy dog visiting a children's hospital. A family dog sleeping in a child's bed. "Impossible," Red declared. "We've seen them attack your soldiers." "That's just training," Tom explained patiently. "They help us catch bad guys and find lost people. But mostly they just love us and we love them back. Look." He pulled out his phone and showed his own dog's picture. "This is Max. He's terrified of thunderstorms and likes to steal my socks." The alien commander's face went through several interesting color changes. His staff could be seen in the background, frantically reviewing their data and whispering among themselves. "You mean to tell me," Red said slowly, "that your species took one of the most efficient predators on your planet and turned them into sock thieves and loyal friends," Tom added with a smile. "Would you like to meet one? I'm sure Max would love to show you how fearsome he is at playing fetch." The entire UN hall waited in tense silence as Commander Red processed this information. His war beasts could be seen in their holding cells behind him, and now everyone could see they were truly terrifying creatures. In comparison, the puppy on Earth's feed had fallen asleep on a soldier's boots, snoring softly. "This changes nothing," Red finally declared, though he sounded less confident. "We will proceed with our invasion. Prepare to witness the true power of engineered war beasts against your sock-stealing companions." As the transmission cut off, Tom looked down at the sleeping puppy and shook his head. "I have a feeling they're about to learn some interesting lessons about Earth's war beasts," he said with a grin. The puppy woke up just enough to wag its tail, roll over, and go right back to sleep. Commander Red paced in his private quarters aboard the Dreadweaver, his steps heavy with frustration. On his desk, a holographic display showed endless loops of humans interacting with their dogs. Each new image only confused him more. "Computer, Play Earth video sequence 2749, he ordered. The display changed to show a small human crying after falling down. A dog immediately ran to the child, licking their face until they laughed. Red's 4 eyes blinked rapidly in sequence, a sign of deep confusion in his species. How can they be war beasts if they show such weakness? He muttered to himself. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Enter. Lieutenant Tom Wilson stepped into the room, escorted by 2 armed guards. After the UN meeting, the humans had suggested sending him as a cultural advisor to prevent further misunderstandings. Red had agreed, hoping to uncover the true secret of Earth's dogs. "You wanted to see me, Commander?" Tom asked, trying to hide his amusement at the dog videos playing on loop. "Explain this." Red pointed at a new image of a dog wearing a flower crown and doing what humans called a smile. "How can you use such soft creatures for warfare?" Tom sat down in the offered chair, which adjusted uncomfortably to his human shape. "That's just it, Commander. We don't use them for warfare. Yes, some dogs help our military and police, but that's because they want to work with us. They're our partners." Red's skin shifted to a darker shade, a sign of skepticism. "Partners? Like crew members? More like family," Tom explained. "You see, thousands of years ago, wolves, that's what dogs came from, started living near human settlements. Over time, we formed a bond. They helped us hunt. We shared our food. They protected us. We protected them. It was a friendship that turned into something deeper." The alien commander pulled up another hologram, this one showing their own war beasts, massive creatures with enhanced muscles and reinforced skeletal structures. "We had to spend centuries engineering our beasts to obey us. You're saying your species just made friends with predators?" "Actually, yes," Tom smiled. "Here, let me show you something." He pulled out his tablet and played a video of his own dog Max playing with his children. The big German Shepherd was being incredibly gentle, letting the small humans climb all over him. Red watched in fascination. But we've seen them attack. Only when they're protecting us, or when they're specially trained for police work," Tom explained. "And even then, most police dogs live at home with their handlers, play with toys, and act just like regular pets. The attack part is just their job, like how your soldiers can both fight and probably have families they care about." This comparison seemed to strike a chord with Red. He sat down heavily in his command chair, all 4 eyes focused on the video of Max and the children. "Our scientists said it was impossible," he muttered. "They said predators couldn't be trusted, that they had to be controlled through genetic engineering and strict conditioning. We spent so much time and resources creating our war beasts, making them bigger, stronger, more aggressive. While we spent our time throwing balls and giving belly rubs," Tom added with a grin. Just then, an alarm blared through the ship. "Commander." Science Officer Green's voice came through the communication system. "The war beasts are showing signs of extreme agitation. Something about the Earth broadcasts is affecting them." Red and Tom rushed to the observation deck. On the screens, their war beasts were watching Earth's dog videos with intense interest. One of them, a massive creature engineered for maximum aggression, was tilting its head at the sight of a puppy playing with a ball. "Impossible," Green whispered. "They're responding to play behavior." "You engineered them to be smarter, right?" Tom asked. "Maybe they're smart enough to realize there's another way to live." Commander Red watched as his fearsome war beasts showed the first signs of curiosity their species had ever witnessed in them. One of them had picked up its food bowl and was presenting it to its handler, mimicking the behavior they'd seen in the dog videos. "This changes everything we thought we knew," Red said quietly. "But it's too late to stop the invasion now. The war beasts have already been deployed to Earth's surface." Tom smiled knowingly. "Just wait until they meet our weapons face to face. I have a feeling your war beasts might learn some new tricks. The first wave of alien war beasts landed in Central Park, New York. They were massive creatures, each the size of a small tank, with reinforced scales and multiple rows of sharp teeth. Steam rose from their armored bodies in the cool morning air as they emerged from their transport pods. Commander Red watched from the Dreadweaver's command center, expecting panic and chaos. Instead, he saw something very different. A group of police officers calmly formed a perimeter, each accompanied by their canine partners. The dogs, a mix of German Shepherds and Belgian Malinois, stood alert but didn't show any fear of the massive creatures before them. "Begin the attack," Red ordered through the neural link to his war beasts. The engineered creatures charged forward, their heavy steps shaking the ground. But just before they reached the police line, something unexpected happened. A small brown dog, what humans called the beagle, had wandered into the park, trailing its leash behind it. The lead war beast skidded to a halt, all three of its heads tilting in confusion. The beagle wagged its tail and play-bowed, rear end in the air and tongue lolling out. "What are they waiting for?" Red demanded. "Attack." But the war beasts seemed mesmerized. One of them slowly lowered its massive head, copying the play-bow it had seen. The beagle, delighted to find new playmates, barked happily and started running in circles. "No, no, no." Red watched in horror as his fearsome weapons of war began chasing the small dog around the park in what looked suspiciously like a game. The police canines, sensing no immediate threat, joined in. Soon, Central Park had become the world's strangest dog park, with genetically engineered war monsters learning how to play tag from Earth's dogs. "Sir," Science Officer Green reported, "similar situations are being reported worldwide. Our war beasts are..." They're what?" Red snapped. "They're learning to fetch, sir." The commander stared at the screens in disbelief. In London, a war beast was carefully carrying a stick in its smallest mouth. In Tokyo, another had discovered the joy of belly rubs from a brave therapy dog handler. In Sydney, one had joined a group of dogs chasing waves on the beach. Lieutenant Tom, still on board as an advisor, couldn't help but laugh. "Dogs have a way of making friends," he said, "even with aliens, apparently. But they're engineered for combat." Red protested. "They have enhanced aggression, reinforced battle armor, multiple attack appendages. And the intelligence you gave them is letting them choose a better way to live," Tom pointed out. "Look." On the screen, one of the war beasts had discovered a frisbee. It was surprisingly gentle as it picked up the plastic disc, having learned from watching the dogs. When a golden retriever showed it how to return the frisbee to a human, the war beast's eyes lit up with a joy its species had never shown before. "We spent generations making them stronger," Red said quietly, "but you humans spent generations making friends." The scenes from around the world showed more and more war beasts being won over by Earth's dogs. Some had learned to sit on command, eager for treats. Others had discovered the fun of water fountains. One particularly large specimen was being taught to shake hands by a tiny chihuahua. "Sir," Navigator Blue called out, "the neural control links. The war beasts are somehow breaking them. They're choosing to stay with the dogs." Red watched as his mighty army transformed into the galaxy's largest group of playful puppies. The fearsome creatures that had been engineered for destruction were now learning to play, share, and show affection. "I don't understand," he admitted to Tom. "All our science, all our engineering, defeated by what you called good boys and belly rubs." "Not defeated," Tom corrected him with a smile. "Shown a better way. After all, why fight when you can play fetch instead?" A final image flashed on the screen. A war beast gently presenting its favorite human with a slightly drool-covered tennis ball, all three of its faces wearing the unmistakable expression of a happy dog. Commander Red had never expected to find himself lost in a small Earth town, separated from his forces. The emergency landing of his personal transport pod had definitely not been part of the invasion plan. His communication device was broken, and the backup systems were failing. As he trudged through what humans call a suburban neighborhood, his four eyes scanned constantly for threats. The houses were quiet in the early evening light, but he could hear barking in the distance. After watching his war beasts betray him for these earth creatures, the sound made him nervous. A small voice broke the silence. "Are you lost, Mr. Alien?" Red spun around to find a human child sitting on a porch swing. The boy couldn't have been more than 8 Earth years old, and beside him sat a medium-sized dog with golden-brown fur wearing a vest that read "Therapy Dog." The commander's hand instinctively went to his weapon, but he stopped when he noticed something unusual. The boy showed no fear. Neither did the dog, which simply watched him with calm, intelligent eyes. "You look scared," the boy said. "That's okay. I get scared too sometimes. That's why I have Buddy. He helps me be brave." Red's upper eyes blinked in confusion, while his lower ones studied the dog. This was nothing like the fierce war beasts he had engineered. The dog's tail wagged slowly, and its posture was completely relaxed. "I am not scared," Red declared, though his voice wavered slightly. "I am a military commander." "Buddy knows when people are scared," the boy said wisely. "That's his job. He helps people feel better. Want to pet him?" Before Red could refuse, a distant explosion rocked the ground. His war beasts were still causing chaos somewhere in the city. The commander stumbled, his usual perfect balance failing him. To his surprise, the dog immediately stood up and moved closer, pressing against his leg just as it did for the boy. The steady warmth and gentle pressure had an oddly calming effect. "See, he knows you need help," the boy explained. "Buddy always knows. He helps me when I have bad days at the hospital. Mom says he's magic, but I think he just has a big heart." Red found himself sinking down onto the porch steps, his hand automatically reaching out to touch the dog's soft fur. Buddy responded by placing his head on Red's knee, looking up at him with understanding eyes. "I don't understand," Red admitted, more to himself than the boy. "We engineered our beasts to be perfect weapons. We made them stronger, faster, more aggressive. But they're being changed by creatures like this. You can't make someone be your friend," the boy said, moving to sit next to them. "Buddy's my friend because he wants to be. Dad says you can't force friendship. It has to grow, like flowers." As if to emphasize the point, Buddy rolled over, exposing his belly in a display of complete trust. Red had never seen any creature willingly make itself so vulnerable around him. In the hospital, the boy continued, "Some kids are too scared to take their medicine, but Buddy shows them it's okay by pretending to take medicine first. He's brave so they can be brave too." Red thought about his war beasts, how they had been created through force and control. Yet here was this small, unthreatening creature, changing lives through nothing but trust and kindness. A wet nose touched his hand, making him jump. Buddy had sensed his distress and was offering comfort in the way dogs had done for thousands of years. "Your people," Red said slowly. "You don't control them with neural links or genetic engineering. You just love them." "Yup," the boy smiled. "And they love us back. That's what makes them special." As the sun set over the suburban street, Commander Red, leader of the most advanced invasion force in the galaxy, found himself learning about love and trust from a therapy dog and a child. Somewhere in the distance, his war beasts were still playing with their new Earth friends, choosing freely for the first time in their engineered lives. "Perhaps," Red said quietly, scratching behind Buddy's ears exactly as the boy showed him, "we have been approaching this all wrong." 3 days into what historians would later call the Great Puppy War, the alien invasion had turned into something entirely unexpected. At the Central Command Center in Washington, Lieutenant Tom watched the screens with amazement as reports came in from around the world. In Japan, A search and rescue team with their highly trained dogs had convinced a group of war beasts to help find survivors in a collapsed building. The massive alien creatures proved incredibly gentle when lifting debris, their enhanced strength now used to save lives instead of destroy them. "Sir, you need to see this," one of the operators called out, pointing to her screen. The footage showed a war beast in Canada carefully carrying a lost ski patrol dog back to its handler through deep snow. All three of its heads wore the distinctly proud expression of a dog that had done a good thing. "They're not just stopping fighting," Tom muttered. "They're learning to help." The door burst open, and Commander Red rushed in, still wearing the best dog dad hat the therapy dog's young owner had given him. "Lieutenant, we have a situation." "Another group of war beasts playing fetch?" Tom asked with a smile. "No, worse." Red's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. They're organizing a dog park." The main screen switched to show a scene from Central Park. Several war beasts had used their enhanced strength to build an elaborate obstacle course. Dogs of all sizes were running through tunnels, jumping over barriers, and teaching the alien creatures the joy of agility training. "Look at this." Red pointed to another screen showing a beach in Australia. A war beast was working alongside a water rescue dog, its powerful swimming abilities making it perfect for reaching struggling swimmers. Another scene showed a war beast in Germany carefully herding sheep with a border collie, learning the gentle art of livestock management. "They're adapting to every type of dog work," Tom observed. "Your engineering made them smart enough to learn, strong enough to help, and now they're choosing how to use those abilities." A new alert flashed on the screen. In London, a war beast had just helped a police dog track down a missing child. The footage showed the massive creature gently giving the scared child a ride home on its back, while the police dog trotted proudly beside them. "All our research," Red said, shaking his head in wonder. "All our genetic engineering. We tried to create the perfect weapons, but you humans, you showed them how to be perfect friends instead." The screens continued to fill with similar scenes from around the world. In India, war beasts were helping guard endangered wildlife alongside ranger dogs. In Brazil, they were assisting rescue dogs in fighting forest fires. Even the most aggressive specimens had found their place, working with guard dogs to protect people, but doing so with restraint and intelligence rather than mindless violence. "Sir," a communications officer called out, "we're getting requests from every major search and rescue organization. They want to know if some of the war beasts would consider joining their teams permanently." Tom looked at Red, who was watching a war beast learn to be gentle with puppies under the careful supervision of a mother golden retriever. The alien commander's expression had completely changed from the stern military leader who had first threatened Earth. "You know," Tom said carefully, "Earth could always use more helpers, especially ones who are strong enough to lift collapsed buildings and smart enough to work with our dogs." Red touched the silly hat on his head, remembering the lesson in trust he'd learned from a therapy dog and a child. "Our entire species believed that strength came from control and dominance. But in just 3 days, your dogs have taught our war beasts, and us, that true power comes from working together." Just then, they heard excited barking from outside. Looking out the window, they saw a war beast had discovered the joy of sprinklers, playing in the water while a group of dogs joined in the fun. Its armored scales, designed for battle, sparkled with water droplets as it pranced around like an oversized puppy. "Perhaps," Red said with what Tom was learning to recognize as a smile, "it's time we stopped calling them war beasts. They're not weapons anymore. They're partners." 1 month after what the media now called the Great Puppy War, Commander Red stood nervously in front of the United Nations Assembly. On his shoulder sat a tiny corgi puppy, one of a litter that had been born at a shelter near the Central Command Center. "Members of Earth's nations," he began, his voice much gentler than during his first broadcast, "I stand before you not as an invader, but as someone who has learned a valuable lesson about strength and companionship." The puppy on his shoulder yawned and snuggled closer to his neck, making several delegates smile. In the audience, Lieutenant Tom sat with his German Shepherd Max, both watching proudly. When we first came to Earth, Red continued, we thought we understood power. We had spent generations engineering the perfect weapons, creating creatures we thought would make us unstoppable. He paused as the puppy licked his ear, causing him to momentarily lose his serious expression. Instead, your dogs taught us what real strength looks like. On the screens behind him, images began to play. A former war beast, now named Hope, helping pull a family's car out of a snowbank. Another, called Guardian, working as a crossing guard with a local school's safety dog. A third, nicknamed Splash, helping teach children to swim alongside a veteran water rescue dog. Our scientists had created them to destroy, Red said, but your dogs showed them how to build, how to help, how to love. The puppy on his shoulder barked in agreement, its tiny voice echoing through the hall. And in doing so, they changed not just our creatures, but our entire civilization's understanding of partnership. The next images showed the changes happening on the Dreadweaver. The massive warship had been converted into an interstellar animal sanctuary. Former holding cells were now comfortable habitats where Earth dogs helped rehabilitate injured space creatures. The weapons testing area had become a massive indoor park where dogs and former war beasts trained together for rescue missions. Therefore, Red announced, reaching up to scratch his puppy's ears, I am formally requesting that Earth consider establishing a permanent exchange program. Our beings have much to learn from your dogs, and in return, our former war beasts would like to continue helping your world. In the back of the hall, the therapy dog and the young boy who had first shown Red the power of trust sat watching. The boy waved, and Red's upper eyes crinkled in what humans now recognized as a smile. But most importantly, he continued, we would like to understand more about this thing you call adoption. The puppy on his shoulder perked up at the word. Our scientists are particularly interested in why Earth dogs insist on sleeping on beds, despite having their own designated sleeping areas. This drew laughs from the audience, especially those who had pets at home. Tom raised his hand and was recognized by the assembly. Commander, he said, fighting back a grin, I believe that's one mystery even Earth scientists haven't solved yet. The final images showed scenes from around the world. Former war beasts playing with puppies, helping in disasters, and most importantly, forming bonds with both humans and dogs. Their fearsome engineered features had softened, their neural control links replaced by simple leashes, rarely needed but worn proudly as symbols of trust and partnership. We came to Earth looking for weakness, Red concluded, holding up his tiny puppy to face the assembly. Instead, we found strength in gentleness, power in kindness, and wisdom in what you call belly rubs. The puppy took this opportunity to demonstrate by rolling over in his hands, making the entire assembly laugh. As the delegates stood to applaud, Red felt a strange wetness on his cheek and realized his puppy was giving him kisses. A year ago, he would have considered such behavior a sign of weakness. Now, he understood it was the greatest strength of all. In the ship's kennel high above Earth, the former war beasts were teaching new arrivals from their homeworld how to play fetch, while Earth dogs supervised with patient wisdom. The universe, it seemed, had become a little bit kinder, all thanks to humanity's best friends.